Let me ask you a question. Who is the church for? Before the grammar police arrest me, let me just tell you that I agree with Calvin Trillin, who said that, as far as I'm concerned, whom is a word that was invented to make everyone sound like butlers. So I'm not going to say, for whom is the church? I'm going to say, who is the church for? Who is the church for? Our go-to response, our natural answer is probably, well, it's for Christians. It's for people who believe in Jesus and want to worship God. That's who the church is for. But I'm talking specifically about our gatherings. Who are they for? Who are they for? I remember Jesus saying things like in John 17 that we would all have unity so that the world will know. So that the world will know. I remember him saying that it's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I remember Peter saying something like, live such good lives among the pagans that, though they accuse you of doing wrong, they will see your good deeds and glorify God. Now, in each of those statements, what we find as a common thread is that we're supposed to have an influence, an impact on non-believers. How can we have an impact on non-believers as the church, as a gathering, if there are never any non-believers in our gathering? Paul talked in 1 Corinthians about how it's really important that when non-believers come into your gathering, they understand what's going on. Why would Paul assume that non-believers are going to come into your gathering if the church is for the believer? Well, of course, I think the church is for the believer. That's what you want me to say. And so I'll go ahead and say it. I agree with it. It's true. The church is for the believer. It's for the edification and support of those who are trying to follow Jesus every day. It's so that we can worship God together, that we can encourage and uplift each other. But the church is not only for the believer. Otherwise, the words of Jesus and the words of Peter and the words of Paul just don't make any sense. They don't fit in. The church is also for the non-believer. It's for the person who may be open to a relationship with God but hasn't really found it yet. It's a person who may have some doubts about the Christian faith but is curious enough to take a look. That's who the church is for. And as Christians, as people who already have a seat in the lifeboat, our job is to make room for more. If the ship is sinking, we want everyone to be saved who can possibly be saved. And so we squeeze in closer and we make room for more, because the church, the lifeboat, is not just for those who already have a seat. It's for those who haven't yet found their seat. So, what are we doing at Cicero Christian Church to acknowledge that the church is not just for believers, but it's also for non-believers? It's for those who need to hear the gospel, for those who need to see Christians at work in the world, at doing life together. They need to see what Christian community really looks like. Our vision is to create irresistible community. And how can that community look irresistible to anyone if we don't let them get close enough to see it? So, are there ways that we are creating obstacles for non-believers to get a close look at irresistible community? I think so. Are there ways that we can open up our doors and be more welcoming, more affirming, more encouraging to non-believers who are looking for a reason to believe? I believe that there are. We'll talk about these more as time goes on, especially surrounding the Easter season, which will be next month. But I just want to leave you with this question and ask you to wrestle with this a little bit. Who is the church for? Who is the church for? How do your actions as a part of the church indicate that it's for believers, but it's also for the non-believer? Don't take my word for it. Check the words of Jesus, check the words of Paul, check the words of Peter, and see if they support the idea that it's not just for us. It's for everyone. God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish but have eternal life. There are a lot of whoever's out there. It's our job to give them a close look at Christian community. Every opportunity to hear and respond to the gospel. It's time for us to all do our part. God bless you. Have a good week.